Look, and honestly, that man inside, he's more peanut than man now.
At this point, yeah, exactly. He's been completely overwritten by the Peanut Man suit.
He's trapped in a prison of Mr. Peanut.
Yeah. Lore Boys here. The internet's #1 PC melting podcast is back to act as a benchmark for your audio app of choice. I am your host, Peter O'Donohue, and I've been frozen for 1,000,000 years. Thawing me out against their better judgment are...
Ethan Palmer with the hair dryer.
Jim Bob John Miller over here. Ready for some Crysis Lore.
Very good. Yeah, so today's episode on Crysis was requested by patrons Deathfall98, the $99 tier Mad Lad, as well as longtime patron XD Drifty. And then, I know that we're shouted out just because of the recording schedule here. Welcome to all of our new patrons, whose names I do not have in front of me.
And old patron.
Yeah, new and old. Welcome back, old patrons, really.
Welcome back.
I'm glad you haven't been frozen for 1,000,000 years, frankly. You specifically.
It'd be hard to pay us
now.
if you had been, so...
I mean, unless your credit card was still active.
Yeah, it's like one of those people who like has problems like with spending, and like you freeze your credit cards or whatever. They accidentally froze themselves instead of the credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, well, actually, now that I think of it, if you have any dead relatives, use their credit cards and become patrons.
Yeah. Wait, are no other podcasts doing this? This is free money. This is
free
easy,
money.
guys.
It's like how Sideshow Bob rigged the election in The Simpsons. It's just like getting dead people to vote for him.
Yeah. Get your dead pets credit cards. Dig them up. I know you buried your pets with their credit cards. Dig them up.
Yeah.
And subscribe to the Lore Boys at patreon.com/theLoreBoys.
Humphrey Beauregard. So have you guys played any of the Crysis games? I believe there's like 3.5. One of them has a very large expansion.
Okay. I played one. My first ever PC, which was a pre-built I got from, I want to say Future Shop, which was the Canadian Best Buy for a while.
Yeah.
Before it went out of business, was like advertised as like built to run Crysis. And it came with a copy.
Forgot about Future Shop completely.
Never forget what they took from you, Jamie. Zellers and Future Shop to replace with Walmart and Best Buy.
Yeah.
Dude,
Fucking
I saw a post from, I think this is an American price, but they're like, we used to have $2 McChickens and 24-hour Walmarts. We had everything.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that statistic of like heads of state who have been assassinated like per decade, and I was like, we used to be a real culture where it just like fell off completely. As soon as I introduced social media and like made people stupid and distracted, we stopped killing presidents.
Here's the thing, though. Like, yeah. Oh, well, presidents, sure. I don't think that assassinations have fallen off. I think the CIA, like the CIA records only get released after 50 years, right? So like,
of course,
the ones in the last 50 years haven't been reported yet, but they will be eventually, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Crysis. Apparently, I own all of them. Crysis Warhead, Crysis Wars, and Crysis 2 Maximum Edition. I must have bought a pack or got a humble bundle or something.
3.
There's a Crysis 3. I have never heard of Crysis Wars. Yeah. When I said 3.5, it's 1 Warhead, 2, 3. Yeah.
Okay, so I've all but 3, and my Steam says I haven't played them. So maybe I will after this.
They're all on Game Pass, and as far as like just a straight up shooter, with
I own Crysis 2 Maximum Edition. It's in library as well. Yeah. Never installed, never launched. I'm sure,
dude. Yeah. I've heard like that Meatloaf album that Pete's dad shot with a shotgun. Everybody has that one in their library if you have a disc, like a vinyl collection. And Peter Frampton Live, it's just one that everybody has. It's just in there.
Oh, right.
And maybe Crysis 2 is like that.
Is one of those.
Just check your library. You probably
on my
it.
dad's next hunting trip, he's gonna take a Xbox 360 copy of Crysis 3 outside and shoot it with a shotgun.
Yeah.
He's just like, God, I hate Crysis 2. That's some Danny O'Donohue lore right there.
What did Meatloaf do? Did he come out in favor of gay marriage or something? And your dad decided to shoot up an album alongside his cases of Bud Light.
Cracks a Bud Light, shoots it. Yeah.
When's my dad ever been anti-gay?
We talked about
going into the woods to shoot a record is just like if you just hear that snippet, it sounds like that person's a conservative and that like Meatloaf did something to him. You know what I mean?
Oh no, this was in the 90s. I don't know if he would know. He just hates Meatloaf, and he was also like on a hunting trip. Everybody is shithouse drunk with guns.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a good time. I'm just saying in today's political climate, somebody shot an album of Meatloaf. It makes me think like, well, what human rights did Meatloaf casually or tangentially advocate for? You know,
dude,
I'll check with my dad. I haven't seen him in a bit, so I'll check.
You always do this, dude. You're always looking through the Kid Rock lens on life. You know?
Yeah.
That's everything is through the eyes of Kid Rock. That's why he thinks that.
Well, I go on with the Bon and Bang to Bang Diggy, dude. They canceled him. Goddamn woke liberals.
Yeah. Honestly, as far as like a dumb resistance song goes, for stupid people who shoot their own possessions, We the People is kind of a banger as far as his newer work goes.
I haven't listened to it. No.
Yeah, it's bad but fun. Just like everything Kid Rock does, but it's coarse and fun.
Full disclaimer: Pete's an unironic Nickelback fan. So, just for the listeners at home who haven't heard Kid Rock,
I think they get a bad rap. I don't think they're that bad at all.
I put on that song "How You Remind Me" the other day, and I might be a Nickelback fan too.
I don't hate them either.
Yeah. What it's like, Feed the Machine's also good. Anyway, I played Crysis 1, 2, and 3. 2 and 3 are on Game Pass. I played them within the last 12 months. They are solid shooters with a super suit in all cases, and contrary to what a lot of gamers TM have said, I think the streamlining of the super suit controls in 2 and 3 was actually a fucking good thing, because it really speeds up the pace of combat. There's no more radial menu. It's just Q, E, and like shift or whatever is like how to activate the different powers instead of all that stuff. I think it was really, really good. If you only ever had to play one, though, right? You only had, your mom only gave you $5 allowance, and you could only take home one Crysis. I still would recommend the first one. I think just because the pacing is the best. It reminds me a lot of both Half-Life and Predator, which are a Gamin movie that I adore. So I think if you in a bind, but they're all on Game Pass now anyway. So if you have Game Pass, just fucking play all of them, dude. It's a good time.
Like, I've played one. I definitely beat it back in the day. I remember basically nothing of it. I feel like there was a bow. Is there a bow
in the third one?
Just in the third one?
Yeah.
I see. I remember a clip of seeing the third one at some point.
Yeah.
Definitely never played 2 or 3. I don't think, but I had it. It was like a 3-disc installation that I had like the box for, and it was games for Windows, and it was Windows 7 at the time. You know what I mean? Or maybe XP. No, it must have been 7.
It came out in 2011, so it definitely wasn't XP.
Crysis 1?
3.
Oh,
Crysis
yeah,
3.
no, I'm talking Crysis 1.
Oh, excuse me.
No, 2007, so it would have been Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're a good time.
I remember nothing about it. I think it's nanobots. Is that what your Crysis suit is?
Yeah, it's called the nano suit. We'll get into it.
Yeah, that's all I remember.
Yeah, well, that's the important part. It is nano suit's on the cover. It's the thing. The main guy doesn't have a face. No one gives a shit. It's just it's nano suit, which we'll show later. So we're gonna start our story 65 million years ago, which was a great year if you were a shrew or a lemur, but a really bad year if you were a dinosaur, a pterodactyl, a big swimming lizard, an ammonite, and like a rock in Mexico. Does anybody want to take a stab at what happened 65 million years ago that would be bad for the dinosaurs?
It's a meteor.
Exactly. My dad got drunk and tired of the dinosaurs and killed them all with a shotgun.
Yeah. God said, "Let there be light."
That was 10,000 years ago. I've been lying to you. 65 million years ago doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, there was nothing. Exactly.
Oh my god.
Bum 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 bum.
Pete's coughing.
Jurassic Park while Peter Costum.
I'm back.
We'll do the Jurassic Park theme every time Pete has to mute his mic to cough. Don't worry.
Oh, that's gonna be an excellent vampire. That's a great idea. Turns out, 65 million years ago, if you're some kind of squishy pink alien, it would have also been a very bad year. Sometime before the KPG impact, which is the official scientific name for the meteor impact that likely killed all the dinosaurs, an alien race arrived on what we now call a seeding ship. It's kind of like an expeditionary party.
Dude.
I know.
Sticky ship. Ugh.
I know. They like
imagine the smell.
They spend multiple light years edging. They spend multiple light years edging from their galaxy to ours, and then finally, when the seeding ship lands, they can finally, they just have like JOI stuff blasting into their cryopods the entire trip. Well, they don't age.
They came all the way from Alpha Gunari.
It's so funny. This is one of the few sci-fi stories we've talked about that doesn't involve Alpha Gunari for once. They chose a different galaxy.
Okay. I mean, Alpha Gunari is a star, but it's a trinary star system. It's the nearest star system to us. That's why it's so common, because it's the closest.
Yeah, just like the Andromeda Galaxy is just like
the closest
galaxy because it's the closest.
The next one, yeah.
Yeah.
There's Galaxy 1, then there's the other one. That's it.
And then there's others. Who cares? We'll be talking about a different one shortly here. Right. So sometime before the KPG impact, an alien race arrived in the seeding ship. These aliens came from the real, not Andromeda, but the Triangulum Galaxy, which I think is a dumb Star Trek name. It's very goofy, but it is real.
Does it look like a triangle?
No, it doesn't. I have a picture of it right here for you.
Just looks like a spiral galaxy.
It is, but it's very pink.
Yeah, it is very pink. Eh? That's
which
so
is what
cool.
makks it unique.
Is it pink, though?
Picture of it here.
It's not just pink, it's very pink.
Very pink. Yeah. All the brightest stars, or at least all the brightest parts of it, are very like reddish pink. The reference image that I've supplied here for you guys and also the patrons is a real picture. The reference image is taken by the VLT Survey Telescope, which is at the ESO's Piranal Observatory in Chile. So this is the photo they have of it.
I didn't even know Elder Scrolls Online had a telescope.
Yeah, but it's based in Chile, so it's like it's a different time zone than us. It's on a different continent.
Does that whenever it's pink like that, does it mean it's moving towards us because it's like red shifting? No, other
probably
ones are
different
blue.
Gas burning. Because whatever the gas, whatever the primary gases that the stars are made of would burn red when it's encountering 1,000 Pokemon or whatever we were talking about yesterday.
I think red's long. So, like, red's long,
blue
and
shift
blue's short,
is
right?
like yeah, exactly.
Blue shift is moving away.
Yeah.
So, like, wouldn't moving away be more red? Wouldn't that make the wavelengths longer if it was moving away? And again, I don't know for sure which is shorter.
Well, we'll pull up the clip.
I'm going to say blue shift, short wavelengths. Blue shift is moving towards us, but
I think blue is moving away because the really, really, really far stuff is blue.
Red is moving away. Blue is moving towards us.
Oh, I got it wrong. Maybe instead of hydrogen and helium, it's just neon, and that's why it's cyberpunk universes, dude.
It's like a red star district. So all these red stars are just like coming to fuck exotic alien whores, right?
And they like blink and stuff. Yeah. Oh god! Imagine the sun made noise. That'd be so annoying. Oh, it probably does up close.
Probably does, right?
I'd imagine it's loud as. Well, I mean, there's no oxygen, so. If a mime dies on the sun, as the riddle goes,
this sounds like the biggest stoner question. This is like the biggest stoner question. I feel like. Google, what does the sun sound like?
Hey Google, what does sun sound like?
Just like Mike Peking blasts you with just like burning noise audio,
like a micro.
From audiology.org, scientists note that the sun's noise sounds like screaming sirens. They took audio of the screaming sun, sped it up 42,000 times, and compressed it into an audio file a little over a minute long. Be grateful we can't hear the siren screams 42,000 times. It feels like you're just like you can make anything sound like anything. If you get 42,000 times on it.
You take the lowest whale noise ever, and you speed it up 42,000 times, and it just goes beep. Sounds like a
exactly. But then also but to make something a minute long with that, it's just like whales are just screaming all the time. If you speed them up 42,000 times,
if you speed up the sound of the sun, does it red shift or blue shift the sound?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, check your Audacity settings.
If you kill a mime on the sun, is he feeling blue?
I was watching a DJ set up yesterday, and red meant bass and blue meant treble. So,
okay,
red meant bass. Yeah, so red is long, bass is long, blue treble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, we got the autofocus tech deck. Let's go.
Yeah.
So very little is known about the galaxy, but some alien data files in game reveal that the entire thing has been colonized by the time they decide to branch out and land on Earth. I will get into what the aliens are called later on, but this is all just like set up for the big reveal. Some theorists state that the seeding ship is what caused the extinction of the dinosaurs. However, there's apparently a lack of evidence of alien activity from 65 million years ago to 3 million years ago. So it either caused the extinction and shut down, like out of shame or something, or it was just like wiped out and reactivated when a second ship arrived on the islands of Lingshan. 3 million years ago. There are other ships that were apparently out kind of like orbiting Jupiter and also Mars, keeping an eye on things. But like, you can't land on Jupiter even if you're a squid alien, basically.
Yeah.
I choose to believe that like the most comically clumsy aliens from Triangulum were sent to dinosaur Earth, like because there's no technology, there was no sharp edges for any of them to get cut on. And then like within a decade, the KPG impact happened. So like HR back in the Triangulum Galaxy was just like, okay, so those guys are safe. They're out of the way. They're in the basement guarding the bee with Homer Simpson. And then they just get a call afterwards. Just like, okay, so those guys are fine. I'm sorry, what happened to them? Oh my God. Oh God, no. So the real Lingshan Islands are actually in the Yellow Sea between South Korea and China, whereas the first game's Lingshan Island is near the Philippines. Almost certain they just moved it for political reasons because, like having North Korea invade a Chinese island in a Western sci-fi might have been bad for like market or whatever. So they took the name and just moved it to a different country.
Okay.
I have a screenshot here of where the actual thing is for you guys, just for reference.
Right off the coast of Qingdao.
It is closer than Triangulum, but still very far away if you ask me. So I will not be going.
Far away from us, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So like I was saying, the first game involves the North Koreans evacuating the island and locking it down after discovering the alien craft buried in a mountain. And this is kind of why I think there may have been a real kind of political thing they wanted to avoid. I doubt relationships between North Korea and China are that bad, frankly. So if like, I think Crytek is in Sweden or something, so if they were just like talking about these two different countries fighting each other over alien tech and sending in American soldiers to solve the problem,
hoorah.
I would also hoorah, thank you, yeah, hoorah for the guys in the back. Yeah. I would also make that writing conceit of just like, let's go. And Lingshan, if you look at the translation, which I didn't include in the script, if one wants to pull it up, I think it means like the island of fire, or like Fire Mountain or something. And considering there's an alien ship built into a volcano in this one, it does make sense.
Cool.
Yeah. So 3 million years ago really seems to be where the aliens got cooking. They began construction on their crafts after they landed. So this is very War of the Worlds-esque, where in the book, the War of the Worlds Martians arrive in just canisters and then build the tripod war machines on site, opposed to trying to ship something intact that would, like, break apart when they crashed it into rural England, basically. So it's the same idea for this one. Now, the name lithoship, litho is ancient Greek for rock, and I was thinking, like, this might be kind of like a holdover from old concept art, or maybe because they're built into the mountain, all of the alien technology is just fucking made of metal. They shoot, like, ice rays or generic red plasma bullshit out of all their weapons. They are not they're not using rock technology, which, I don't know, this is just me personally. It would have been cool if you had like squid aliens in rock armor suits firing rocks, like firing lava at you while you try and fight them in your sci-fi suit. Like, that's cool, opposed to the kind of very simple idea we ended up with, but whatever.
That sounds like a Ratchet and Clank enemy that exists, I feel like.
Yeah.
A ditto stuffed into a rock suit shooting lava, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is some concept art I have. This is like predates the first game by quite a lot, where the ship itself is visibly made of stone and is like either crashed into or burrowing into a tropical island. It's really, really cool. And like the scene in the first game where you go into the alien ship, is rad. But it is just like a sci-fi ship with like anti-gravity and like metal tubes and whatnot. So
yeah, it's your storming a Covenant ship in Halo.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's high charity, basically.
Yeah.
except with no floors, because they just float around. There's no gravity. The next major event in the Crysis timeline is one we've actually already talked about in the Resistance Fall of Man episode. And one of the issues I encountered here, having not played the games recently, like I said, I couldn't go back and confirm this. I don't know if they changed it in the timeline or if it's like just a typo on the wiki or whatever. It states the Tunguska event in Crysis timeline happened in 1909, which is a weird typo considering the actual thing happened June 30th, 1908. So, Lore Boys canon, that's a typo. June 30th, 1908, still the real date is still there.
Cool.
Yeah, so...
And for the people who don't remember the Tunguska event, just the idiot listeners who listen to that other episode and don't remember it, could you tell us? Tell them? Tell them?
I did put it in here just in case someone who's a huge fucking idiot is listening to the show for some reason. Yeah. This is when a comet, the theory at least is, because only like a couple of Siberian sheep herders saw it. I think 3 of them were killed. The Tunguska event was probably a asteroid or a comet that entered Earth's atmosphere, the inside of it boiled, and it exploded over the Tunguska River in Siberia in Russia. It flattened something like of the 10 million trees or whatever. It's a very crazy looking event, or like what it left behind is very crazy looking because it didn't impact, so it did way more damage over a way like broader area because like most of the hit me with the Jurassic Park.
Dun, 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 dun.
That meteor probably sounded like the sun coming in, dude.
Just screaming. So for the same reason, when the U.S. bombed Japan at the end of the Second World War, they detonated the nuclear bombs in the air, is so they didn't waste precious civilian killing force by sending it straight down into the ground. Which is why the area that the Tunguska event is so huge, is because it probably blew up in the air. There also isn't a crater, so there's really good evidence that Siberia hadn't been hit, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like aren't like bombs or like nukes meant to do that too? Like blow up a little higher up so they do more damage?
Yeah,
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what you just said.
Sorry.
I knew all that though. I just want to say
I thought he was talking about the meeter still.
Oh yeah, when the U.S. directed a meteor directly at Japan and won the Second World War. Put like a jetpack on it to steer it in space. Anyway, also for the typo on the wiki, I would also like to say, anytime we've ever said anything that is wrong, blame the wiki. Thank you very much. It's their fault. Yeah.
Either blame the wiki or we're being like super like we're artists and we're being creative and we're taking creative liberties with it.
Yes, look at the Lore Boys as an adaptation. Actually,
this is performance art. We don't believe any of it.
We're not even friends.
Yeah, I've never played a video game.
Feather boa. I can't read.
One of those statements is true.
Yeah. I find it weird to reuse this just from a writing perspective. I find it very odd that they reused this idea so soon after the Resistance games came out. Because Resistance 1, Fall of Man, the inciting incident in the opening cutscene is the Tunguska event. And like a year later, in 2007, they hit us with Crysis, and they were like, that's a good idea. We'll just take that and not modify it whatsoever. Aliens did Tunguska. So
nice.
Yeah. So regardless, a man named Jacob Hargreave led a private expedition in 1919 to survey the area, along with another guy named Carl Rash and a guy named Walter Gould. Walter Gould's grandson, Nathan, is a major character in Crysis 2. He's your man in the chair for the majority of the game where he's talking to you over the radio.
Cool.
Also, another weird call out on the wiki here. The way that Walter Gould is described, it says, prior to his death, Gould sired a son who eventually fathered Nathan Gould, which is the weirdest way of saying his grandson is the guy in Crysis 2.
Yeah. Nathan Gould's grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. During the expedition, the team discovered that the aliens, as well as their technology, were trying to set up there, and the entire team they had gone with, of unnamed, just fucking poor red shirts, except Hargreave, Rash, and Gould were killed. The latter two having been saved by Hargreave, who exhibited at the time a sudden burst of superhuman capabilities and endurance. He actually managed to rescue Gould and Rash and carry them from the Tunguska site all the way to Vladivostok. Now, I have here... Whoops. Try not to rename that. I have here another map of how far he carried two guys. I couldn't get the actual Google measurement. I don't believe it is possible to drive or walk this entire way, or Google just isn't giving me directions in Russia because of the war right now.
It's like a whole Mongolia apart. The Mongolia the long way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mongolia looking like a dumpling, right?
Yeah.
is lengthwise.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a long walk for carrying two people.
Can you imagine being the two guys that he's just carrying on his shoulder, like a milkmaid? He's just got the stick with two guys on the end of him. He's just jogging for what, like 30 days straight. Are
they sitting on his shoulder? Or are they flopped over his shoulder, like their butts would be here, legs in the front? Like, are they?
I think you'd probably have to yin yang them, right? So he's got he's spanking Gould. He's got the butt up front, and then he's got Rash forwards over there.
Or maybe they could go one on his chest, one on his back, and they could hug around and link up.
Or he stole two rompers, basically, two alien rompers. He's got one on the front of Gould and one on the back.
Papoose,
yeah, that's it. Yeah. I don't know why that's the order I've always got them in there, but yeah, that's how he saved them.
Or you remember when you were a kid and you would hold on to an adult's leg and then they would pick up and walk with you?
Yeah.
You ever do that? Yeah. Maybe you could do that, just sitting on both feet, holding on. Anyways, you guys imagine. Yeah.
So after this ordeal, Hargreave and Rash would form Hargrave-Rash Biomedical. Gould ended up working for Gould's grandson, or the son of the man that he sired. Excuse me to use the game's terminology.
Right.
But Nathan Gould would eventually work for that company, but the two founders were Hargreave and Rash. This was a company dedicated to studying why Hargreave ended up being so strong and cool, as well as preparing for an attack by the aliens, now retroactively referred to as the Ceph, which is short for cephalopod, which is the Latin family name for squid and octopus and
I believe it's Greek.
Probably.
Not Latin. Yeah.
You're giving me alt name ideas for my WoW character, Unicephalopod.
Unicephalopod, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I think too long. Might hit the character limit.
Yeah.
But more on the aliens after the break. Welcome back from the break, everybody. So, like I said, the Ceph, or the cephalopods, the aliens of the story.
Alien.
Yeah.
Or the octopuses.
Or an octopus. They look like both, really. You'll see in a second here. In the images that I'm about to share here, you'll see that the cephalopods, which this is the only way you see them in the first game, they're either flying around in giant mechanical flying squids or inside the lithoship itself as unarmored, kind of floating around in zero-G purple squid guys.
Pretty cool looking.
They are pretty cool looking. Now, this is this little kind of behind the scenes tangent I want to go on that I've been curious about ever since I played the Crysis games and also watched the third Michael Bay Transformers movie.
Sure.
So on the left, you will see a Ceph trooper in its armor, and then on the right, you will see the Decepticon Crowbar from the third Transformers film. Okay. And you may notice they look shockingly similar.
Yeah. Pretty much identical. The Ceph are octopuses with arms. That's what they are. Yes. In the second picture, they have armor. So they're walking on feet, which are like goat's legs, I guess, where it's the ankle joint is where the knee is, essentially, so it's backwards. Yeah.
I think it's called digitigrade.
Sure, they got grade A digits. And then just like chainmail arms, I guess, but they have distinctly tentacles coming off the back of there. I guess that's where you put the extra tentacles. You just make like a little pouch at the back of the helmet to stuff them in.
Yeah, I think if an octopus had to stand up, it would definitely like do the man bun or the top knot like a samurai, just to get the rest, just to get the extra out of the way.
Yeah, if an octopus wore pants, would he open up a gourmet butcher in a gentrified part of town?
Definitely, 100%.
The first pick, like the tentacles almost look worm-like. Like they kind of are like ribbed for her pleasure, like a worm is.
Like a worm is ribbed for her pleasure.
And then it just has arms, which I guess those are useful if you don't want to be worming around.
A fun fact about cephalopod, I looked up what the etymology was during the break. And it means literally head foot. Yeah, because the Greeks described it the way that the octopus's head attached directly to its tentacles. This is why they called it that.
Good call, honestly.
So, fun to think of these things as just like big heads with a foot on them.
There you go. You can draw the guy in the nano suit with just a head on legs.
And by that logic, Kirby is an octopus.
Yeah, well, that's in the same logic that just like is a man just a plucked chicken, like the featherless biped sort of thing, right? Yeah. What is a Kirby?
Yeah, what is a Kirby but a plucked chicken?
Yeah, Kirby in the nano suit. And then you'll see the Decepticon from the Transformers film is basically the same, except instead of having tentacles, it has long metallic dreadlocks coming out of the back of its head, basically. It looks like a robot predator.
Look like bike chains or something. Like it looks like chains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, I've been curious about this for a long time. I did a little trivia detour here, which I hope the listeners like, and I really enjoyed spending an hour trying to figure this out, doing some Googling. I wanted to find out if there was just an artist recycling his own work that happened to work on both projects, basically. Yeah. Because I was like, what are the fucking chances? Right? Like,
I mean, all work is derivative. We've said that before.
Yeah, it is exactly. So, like, the ground level combat suits that you see there, were first seen in Crysis 2, which came out March 22nd, 2011, and Transformers: Dark of the Moon came out June 29th, 2011. So, wow. Right after, and I was just like, it's so close. It's got to be, and also it's also so close to the anniversary of the Tunguska event, 103 years later. And they're and they're dropping Transformers movies, dude, right? So I looked into who the artist for Transformers was. I was having trouble finding who the artist for Crysis 2 was at the time, at least. So the artist who did a lot of work on the Transformers films and then also has done a lot of work on Marvel films. He is specifically like a sci-fi machine artist. I included the link to his website in my script, and I'm going to provide it for everybody on Patreon as well, just along with the episode picks, because it's a really cool browse. Like, concept art is cool, just to see what it was originally and then what it ended up looking like in the movie. And at this point, he's worked on like 20 films that have come out in the past 20 years, basically. Very prolific. A lot of very
What's his name, man? I'm on tenterhooks.
His name is Joshua Nizzi. Nizzi.
Oh, he's the guy that blew up that big rock over Russia. He went to jail for it. Yeah.
He did, exactly. So I was wondering if he had worked on any video games. So I went to his IMDb, and so he doesn't have anything about video games on his website. So I go to his IMDb. I'm like, let's just see, because for me, having worked on films, but just because it was such a disaster all the time, I'm uncredited on most of them. But you can submit an uncredited request to IMDb or use a pseudonym or something like that if you're just, like, I'm ashamed of the fact I worked on the Tom Hanks Pinocchio movie. Thankfully, they misspelled my name, so I have the plausible deniability that is not me.
That's
actually.
Not me. Yeah. That's another Peter O'Donoghue.
Yeah, that's it's Peter. It's O'Donoghue. Actually, is how my name is written. Different guy.
Peter O'Donoghue Bear.
Yeah,
O'Donoghue. Oh, they like Hugh, like hug you. Okay.
Huggy, yeah, it's G-E. It's like Huhge or whatever. I can't remember. But Josh Nizzi has worked on 4 games that we know of. He worked on Red Faction 1 and 2, which are games I've heard about and never played, but apparently the destruction's great and has a lot of like industrial technology on Mars. So him working on that does make sense considering all the machine work he does. He worked on a game called Fracture, which I have never heard of, but he was one of the lead artists on MechAssault 2 Lone Wolf on the Xbox, the second MechWarrior game that was on Xbox. Okay. And I was like, okay, cool. Really cool to bring that all back in. So and then I went and looked at the art directors, the artists, and concept artists for Crysis 2, and his name is not present. And like I said, I had no idea if he had a pseudonym working for a European company or anything like that, which again I could not find any evidence of.
Sure.
He doesn't have an uncredited section on IMDb or anything like that, and I was just like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, it's just apparently just a mechanical predator-looking alien is just part of human culture in the same way like a dragon is. Yeah, basically, it's just like two guys in different countries thought of the exact same thing. And I was wondering if you guys.
I was wondering if there was like maybe a bunch of like Predator reboots at the time. I gotta say, I'm glad we finally broke it into the true crime genre here, Peter, with you doing an investigative.
I'm trying to bring in the white girls, yeah.
Because the dreadlocks is very Predator. I think like the actual like suits are pretty typical. Predators came out in 2010.
Okay, the year before.
Yeah, so I think the dreadlocks probably stem from that. And then Predators was so bad. Boy, did I ever take my first ever weed brownie to go see Predators in theater. Boy, was it bad.
Which one is that even?
That's the Aaron Brody.
Oh,
they go to the Predator home planet. And they're like they're in like the hunting pen or whatever. They're just like they're on like a game reserve.
Yeah, that's true. It's like the Predators have abducted Earth's most dangerous criminals and just make them fight each other or whatever. And I was wondering if you guys were going to call me out for this as an addict, but just in case you did, I do have the figurine of the guy we're talking about just to see.
Of course.
Just another little close up of the dude. This one turns into like a black SUV, which does not happen in the game. But yeah, it was something I've always been curious about. Just like, it's not like two guys drew a stick man. It's a very specific looking monster that they somehow ended up with in two different movies.
I'm gonna guess there's some other touchstone. Like there's a missing link here that they both were inspired by, right?
Yeah.
Because these came out like a week apart from each other or whatever. Like there's no way you're working on a movie full time and then also working on a game full time.
Oh yeah, that come out in March and June respectively, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm gonna guess there was something like a year before or 2 years before that was like that inspired all this. And like there's been a lot of Transformers movies at this point in our history, 2011, right? So I like the video game artist Josh something probably had seen all the Transformers movies. Was probably inspired by generally Transformers design to some level. And then like I say, maybe like the Predators had come out, maybe Alien versus Predator was probably a big thing for a little bit at that point.
Are there Bionicles that look like this? When you first posted it, like my mind jumped to Bionicle before Transformer.
And maybe some newer ones that I didn't have, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, this was just a little detour I wanted to take because I've always found it interesting. And we have a podcast. We have a captured audience.
Do you guys hear that? The sound of
the Screaming Sun?
The sound of all our it sounds just like the Screaming Sun. The sound of all our trans listeners being activated by us mentioning Bionicle.
Oh, Bionicle, of course, yeah. No, but I can feel it in my grundle. The signal's been sent out. The reception is coming in.
Yeah, there's pheromones drifting in through the open window.
Dude, I made a bum. I fumbled the ball this week. Someone invited me to their play. Well, actually, your ex-girlfriend's in it, Pete. Apparently, he's the co-star. Someone invited me to a play.
And they're like, that tracks.
It's Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and I had no idea what that was. I thought it was like a Harry Potter thing. It's really not a Harry Potter thing at all. It's like very much the opposite. It's about like a person who like has their penis removed and they're only left with like what is left with an angry inch. And like I think it is like a whole trans story, and I had no idea, and I thought it was a Harry Potter thing, which is like a transphobe who made it. So I completely messed that one up. Yeah,
big credit to my ex-girlfriend for being one of the straightest women I have ever met in my life. Somehow, constantly getting into like she is like in queer theater more than actual queer people that I know. She has somehow completely supplanted a bunch of them.
And shout out to her for putting up with your angry inch for all those years.
Yeah. For 4 or 5, I can't remember. Yeah, I wrote the play under a gay pseudonym, actually. Josh Nizzy is my playwright.
Peter Rose.
Anyway, that's our little aside there about just our true crime episode. That's how we got it in there. If you like that, then I don't know, this got to be our full-time job before I start doing that much Googling. So, now that we're kind of back on track into the post-Tunguska stuff, we are going to be venturing into plot hole territory. This is kind of an issue with the games. The time between Crysis 1 and 2 is, I believe, 3.5 years. The time between Crysis 2 and 3 are like 18 months. I don't think anybody making Crysis 3 spoke to a single fucking person making Crysis 2. They were clearly in development at the same time, because games can't come out that fast. At least ones that work, and I can confirm the game actually works. And it's just like a disaster as far as writing goes, but it is kind of fun, and then we can like plug the holes here as we go.
There's plenty of problems with video game development broadly. I'm gonna guess it's a too many cooks situation where maybe this studio is a little producer heavy, and producers love to make it their own, right? So if you don't have the same producer working on both titles, you're just gonna end up with differences like that.
Yeah, and like as a guy who was in production on movies, I remember the only department that we ever had enough staff, including on Tom Hanks's Pinocchio movie, was production. We never had enough artists, and I don't want to alarm you guys. Middle management creates nothing. We are bugs, and we should be squished. Like that is that is it. But when I had 2 guys working on crowd, and they were like, "How many shots can you get done this week?" I was like, "Maybe 1." And I had to tell 13 people that the 2 guys I had couldn't make the movie on their own. Imagine that.
They just drone so their fingers fall off.
Yeah, exactly. Just me and the other fucking bean counters, just like, why can't this movie be made in a week? Sort of like bullshit.
Another martini lunch, fellas?
I think so. So Hargrave Rash Biomedical was a smaller company focusing on life extension research within a larger tech company called Crynet Systems.
I gotta say, it's convenient to found a biomedical company if you've got such a persistent rash, right?
Yeah. That's his last name, right?
I'm sorry. You could go on with the episode now that I've gotten that great joke out of the way. I wanted to say it earlier. The moment passed, but here.
I thought about it too, because there's one guy named Gould and then another guy who was named Rash. And I was just like picturing like a Gould.
Oh, and Hargrave. There's something there.
Hargrave.
There is something there.
Hargrave Rash on my Gould. I gotta talk to somebody about that.
She Gould on my rash till I Hargraved. Yeah.
So the tech company is called Crynet Systems. Back in the day, Crytek made Far Cry and then Crysis, but spelled with a Y, and then in game it's called Crynet, and I think their game engine is called the Cry Engine. I don't know why they did this, but that's just the way that worked. Anyway,
I didn't know they made it was the same studio that made Far Cry 1.
The first one, yeah. Far Cry 2 was Bubisoft, and I like Far Cry 2 a lot. Personally.
I thought they were always Bubisoft. I really like Far Cry 1. It was the first one I played.
Published it, I think, and then took over, and then whatever.
Far Cry 7, where you have to put quarters into your PC to get to the next missions or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Will come up with next,
whatever. Yeah. We'll see what they can get what those like fucking reptiles can get away with in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So Crynet handled the development of the nanosuit, which is the nanomachine-focused super suit that the game is centered around. That gives you all your powers and combat abilities. So it's a combat-focused suit that would augment the wearer's abilities, allowing them to go toe-to-tentacle with a Ceph combat unit. Now, of course, at the time, the only Ceph combat units people were aware of were the giant flying squid monsters, so they had to make a very, very strong suit to go up against that. Frankly, they kind of made them weaker. It's just like, well, instead of a giant flying armored tank, what if it was just a guy that looked like a transformer? Would that be a better advancement of our alien technology? Like, no, obviously not idiot, but whatever. The gameplay, like gameplay over story, which, like I said, they're fun games. Fine. It's just, for our purposes here, I will ridicule it.
Do they still look good now? Like they always boasted like to be like the top end of graphics back when they were released, right?
I mean, yeah, they hold up. Like I said, I played them within the last 12 months on Game Pass, or at least 2 and 3. They do look really good, but it's not like a game like Crysis in 2007 was unfucking believable. Whereas in 2011 and then 2012, a good looking game was just a game you got at Blockbuster, right? Like,
Yeah.
everything fucking looked good.
Yeah, like the first Dragon Age was coming out around that time too, and looked good, ran good.
Right.
Yeah.
Pick it up at Future Shop.
The original Crysis, I think, was remastered, right? I believe a few years ago.
It's also on Game Pass, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not sure what they could have improved. Like, frankly, the one thing I remember from Crysis 1 is the graphics are incredible. The thing that it really needed to be remastered is the fucking animation. Everything's very stiff and weird, like when you like interact with the world. But
yeah, I was playing Doom 3 recently, and that looks really good too. I think it's like a 2004 game, but it was remastered. I was like, this looks really good, but it was remastered. But so
that's on Game Pass too. I really have been intending on playing it because I never played it. Kyle and I one time rented Doom, like Resurrection of Evil or something, which was like the sequel to Doom 3. So we had no idea what the fuck was going on. I just remember there's like a bald guy who turns into like a bone dragon at the end, and he's the last boss.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Doom 3 is fun. Yeah, you'd like it. You can play it through. It's like a 6 to 8 hour in and out adventure, just shooting, going through stuff. Very much your style.
I might install that tonight. Get zooted on the cookies that my boss gave me on Thursday, and then fucking whatever. Just fall asleep playing Doom 3 after I close the curtains once the sun goes down.
Hell yeah.
So the nanosuit was built using recovered Ceph technology. It can augment your strength, speed, armor, and as well as turn you mostly invisible. It's got like cameras it's a classic kind of like sci-fi realism of where it's just got covered in fucking cameras, so it projects the image behind it to the person in front of it. So you have like, again, like the Predator, you have like this shimmer around you. You're not completely invisible, you're bending light, but you can still be seen if you get close enough to a soldier or like a human soldier or a Ceph unit, basically. But
I thought I invented that idea when I was young. I was like, dude, why don't they just put cameras and screens on both sides? Then you could make like an invisible car or something. And then that's what they did. Like they you just have a screen all the way over on your suit. You have cameras underneath the screens, and you're projecting what's up behind you, right?
Well, if you're gonna stay up with the meta, Jamie, and I forgot to mention this on the bonus, I love your stream right now because it is knowing you and having empathy for you. This is the closest I will ever get to playing Dark Souls 1 for the first time ever again, and it has been thrilling. I have adored it. Yeah. So I'm sure that's linked below. I'm not going to guess what the fucking username is, but
Twitch.tv/Loreboy James. Singular.
It's easy to remember, Peter.
Shut the fuck up,
you get so
confused. To keep up with the Twitch meta, because there's obviously that porn star who was like green screening her ass in a Fortnite. You need to do your imaginary cloak thing. You can green screen your body and be the cloaking device you've always imagined since being a child on Twitch now.
Paymoney Wubby does that a lot. He's got the green morph suit and he's just his head talking.
Yeah. I've only seen one Paymoney Wubby clip, and it's when funny. he ate that bag of gummy bears that give you diarrhea. And he was just wearing a green screen suit, and he's just got like this like round little face poking out of it.
My favorite my favorite camera setup is when I play WoW and I change my camera to a circle and I just go in the mini map, so it looks like I'm looking through a little porthole in the top right of the screen.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The medium is the message, dude. It's perfect use. Marshall McLuhan is very proud of you right now. He's looking down.
Yeah.
So the nanosuit can also heal you. So you do have regenerating health in all 3 games, but it does this by actually replicating the alien nanoparticles and fusing with your body. So it's just constantly plugging bullet holes physically with the actual guy wearing the suit. It's a really cool and kind of gross pseudo body horror way of like canonizing and explaining why in game you have regenerating health, where it's just like, oh no, you're not okay. You didn't just flex the bullets out like a Call of Duty man. You're not okay at all. You will never be able to take this suit off ever again. Basically, because the whole thing has fused with you. Yeah.
That's
I love
crazy.
This. Yeah, I
like
love
at one point you're more suit than man. It probably if you're getting shot enough.
Hey, Jibo. Hey, you reading my scripts in advance? More suit than man. We'll get into that. Don't you worry. Now, the first game features a squad wearing the nanosuit 1.0. Which I'm going to drop right now. You'll notice a brief, like kind of a slight change in art style. The Nanosuit 1.0, I actually prefer just because it's a bit slimmer, which is this one here. Mm-hmm. And then Crysis 2 and 3 features the Nanosuit 2.0, which is...
1.0, it looks like it's a guy wearing a rounded steel helmet covered in... he's like cut up old tires to make chainmail out of.
Huh.
Or like steel mail.
It looks like human musculature, actually.
That's
but yes,
what
it
I was
also
going to say.
Yeah.
It looks like the diagram you have in science class of like your pectoral muscles or whatever, but it's made out of tires instead.
I think it's the second one is an anatomically correct Michelin Man, where he's actually it's all tires underneath.
I think we need an anatomically correct Michelin Man.
I am writing it down, dude. In 4 days, we've got one. Don't worry about it. Nice. California Ghoul Raisins is my last note, though. Fuck. All right. Yeah. So one of the issues with the story here is why like nobody's talking to each other, or there's too many producer dorks like me, like with their grubby little hands in it. How anyone gets this 2.0 suit in game is never fucking explained. The protagonist of Crysis 1, codenamed Nomad, friend of the show, Bobby, is codenamed Nomad. Him, Psycho, and their leader, Prophet, are the only 3 survivors. Nomad, at the end of the first game, does not die. The first game ends with just like I guess we gotta finish the fight cliffhanger sort of thing.
Classic.
And then Nomad is never referred to and never appears ever again in the subsequent games.
Well, he picked up and left. That's what they do.
He went to finish the fight, I guess.
I bet Psycho, a real well-rounded individual.
Oh yeah, we'll get to him. He actually does come back, shockingly.
Good.
Prophet, who is the leader of the squad of Nanosuit guys in the first game,
he would be the leader because he's got all the money. Prophet.
PH, but close.
No, I know, Peter.
He's got all the Jesus. Yeah. Prophet created... He's the guy who told me the Earth was created 10,000 years ago, and the 65 million years is how I know this is science fiction. Okay, that's it.
He's got all the Jesus, and faith is the real currency. So,
exactly.
Checkmate.
That's
checkmate, atheists.
So at the beginning of Crysis 2, Prophet saves a dying soldier codenamed Alcatraz in New York after the Ceph attack. He's just like, I'm sick of shit, dude. I can't do this. You got to finish the fight, actually. He removes his suit, puts Alcatraz inside of it, and then shoots himself in the head, killing himself. The regenerative powers of the suit, however, somehow store Prophet's memories, voice, and even his face. And Alcatraz is just completely overwritten within the suit over the course of Crysis 2, going into Crysis 3. And when the helmet is removed in Crysis 3, it is the same guy as in Crysis 1.
That's very cool. I mean,
it
also
is.
Like calling him Prophet too, like having that like that religious rebirth, right? Like the divine spirit being carried in the suit, I think is a nice little bit of writing there.
Yeah, Alcatraz, like it's known prison. You can't break out of. And you're stuck in the suit.
A prison surrounding himself.
And one of the cool things too is Nomad in Crysis 1 is a voiced protagonist. He's very verbose. He talks constantly. Crysis 2, Alcatraz never speaks until the end, where it is Prophet's voice coming out of the suit, and then in Crysis 3, Prophet is again a voiced, verbose protagonist. So there is like, despite the lack of explanation as to what the fuck is going on other than alien magic, or what the hell happened to Nomad, like there is like a couple of really cool dots here that managed to survive through the kind of jumbled threads that they tossed to us.
I feel like if you were gonna give Alcatraz voice lines, just all they would be is, "Oh shit, fuck, no, shit,
I know.
Fuck. It's rewriting my face. Oh fuck."
It would sound a lot like the sun does. Yeah.
Alcatraz sped up 42,000 times, just screaming inside the suit.
People at Alcatraz would love to speed it up 42,000 times, I'm sure. But I was thinking about the cephalopods, by the way, and they're very like wormy looking as well as octopus looking. So when you said they like invaded, I was just picturing like, oh, it rained, so there's a bunch of them in a puddle somewhere.
We don't need fancy suits. What we need is the nano machines to come together and form a giant robin.
True.
Oh,
to
yes,
eat
of
all
course.
the worms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the military is calling it Project Early Bird.
A
And
giant
it's still just
mechanical-
detonating a nuke over New York City.
Yeah.
Put lipstick
That
on a
is a
pig.
good image.
What was I gonna say?
Yeah, instead of doing the Michelin Man, just do a nuke blowing up New York City. That sounds better.
Oh, never forget. Of course, I'll do that. Little baby.
Remember when George Bush did a terrorism and blew up all of New York City?
I do. I have never forgotten.
I saw new pictures, man. The steel beams have 45-degree angles that match those of a detonation charge that they use for planned destructions of places. So another one. You see that? You ever see that video where there's like a bunch of college kids and they're like, it looks like they're drinking during the day. They're like, it's just lemonade, mom. And then they're like, just a woman screams like a college kid. And then they like look out the window and it's 9/11.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. My favorite one is the guy who's in the Mr. Peanut costume, like behind like Al Sharpton. At whatever, at like 8:45 in the morning when like the first plane hit at 8:49, and the caption is just like, out there is someone who saw 9/11 through the mouth of a mascot costume of Mr. Peanut.
And honestly, that man inside, he's more peanut than man now.
At this point, yeah, exactly. He's been completely overwritten by the Peanut Man suit.
he's trapped in a prison of Mr. Peanut.
Yeah. Alcatraz peanut colony.
Yeah, my high sodium prison. Yeah.
I hate the fact I can't eat nuts anymore, man. Peanut butter was one of my favorite things on the planet.
Are you allergic?
I didn't know that was news to me.
Rip up my insides, man.
Oh.
It's horrible. Anyway, where was it?
Oh, yeah, Pete's got his insides ripped up by nuts.
Yeah. When I was at Alcatraz.
That's hot, dude. That's so hot.
They passed me around at Alcatraz.
Also hot.
The end of Crysis 3. Also, like throughout Crysis 2 and 3, the suit's regenerative powers, it's kind of revealed to you that it's made of Ceph technology because it can counteract the virus that the Ceph have released into New York. Basically, we'll get into what we think the aliens are doing, but they do try and kind of like extinguish life. You know, maybe they did the dinosaurs, maybe they did 9/11. I don't fucking know, man. I'm just reading the wiki page. Okay?
Sure, yeah.
The
no one's holding you accountable for 9/11.
I didn't do it.
We know George Bush did it.
Yep. One thing I find really interesting about the Ceph when you kill them, and this is like, maybe it's just the effects in game, or maybe it's like what's actually based off of, but when you kill them, they burst, like their entire body does. And this is like, if you stealth kill them and stab them, they'll burst and kind of pour out of the suit. And then when you finally break through the suit and shoot them with just a regular gun, they also kind of liquefy. It's possible that the suits, this is more Lore Boys canon than anything, the suits are pressurized in the same way that like when you bring a deep sea fish up to the surface, it kind of like expands and falls apart. So this, again, I don't know if this was a creative choice. Maybe they stole the idea from Josh Nizzy like they did everything else, apparently. Yeah, Josh Nizzy invented deep sea fish, but I think it's really neat, at least.
I wonder if you put a bunch of salt on him, if it would kill him. Like
That's
a slug.
leech.
I think a slug, it will literally like just dissolve in salt or something. Yeah. It'll like...
Octopuses, though, famously live in salt water, I will say.
I was going to say, pretty sure squid live in ocean.
That's true. That's true, actually.
They're just like screaming as loud as the sun the whole time down there. Dude, if they had lungs, they would be screaming 42,000 times, right? So the adaptive nature of the nanotechnology taken by the Ceph into the nanosuit is part of the plot. It helps defeat the virus. Like the suit itself generates the vaccine, basically, after exposure to the Ceph virus that they've deployed.
It could beat the virus, dude?
It did.
Wow.
It did.
All I needed to do was get plugged by nut to beat COVID? Wow.
I kept telling you. You kept telling me, no, Pete, I'm married. And I was like, no.
So I ever got sick.
The adaptive nature of the suit also, by the end of Crysis 3, shows that it can actually fully integrate. So the post-credit cutscene of Crysis 3 shows Prophet looking completely normal, no suit, except for kind of a couple of like, he has kind of like shimmery blue sci-fi scales on his cheeks.
Okay.
And it shows that he can cloak now without the suit. Prophet now being completely fused and is a perfect being, a combination of Ceph nanotechnology and also the human body. Like by the end of the third one, he is the perfect super soldier. Also, where the fuck is Alcatraz? Who cares? But this is, the car he drove to get here is gone at this point. He's just he got nanotechnology in his blood. Off screen, like apparently a lot of what happens in the Crysis series, sadly, Prophet is driving around some guy's body, but can still kind of talk to his memories, because obviously it's fucking Alcatraz's brain. Finds out that Alcatraz's mom is dying in the hospital, and they go to visit her. But at some point, the cloaking device like runs out of juice, and he like decloaks in the room with her and starts talking to her. His mother obviously is just like, no, you are a fucking demon who has possessed and stolen my son's body. And she is completely
She's right. Yeah.
She is completely correct. And is driving it around. So Alcatraz and Prophet meet, so to speak, in the nano suit. There's a couple of sequences that are like, whatever, your mind goes to the nanoverse, sci-fi, the off-screen, like where you get to go get like plot details, basically. And talks to like who the body belongs to, basically. Alcatraz argues that the body is his, and he's right, but Prophet argues that his war is not over, and that if he wanted to take over the entire body, he would have already done so. After this conversation, Prophet wakes up in the real world, having taken over the body in its entirety. Alcatraz kind of like losing. It's such a weird plot point, though, where it's just like, yeah, dude, you stole my body. He's like, that's because my war's not over. It's like, I don't fucking care. These are my fingerprints, dude. Like, like I don't owe you anything, especially not my body.
Yeah, that's my wife you're climbing into bed with, dude. Not cool.
It doesn't even look the same anymore, right? It's like Prophet's face now, too. I wonder if it's Alcatraz's pornus, though.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. I was like, if it was his, maybe like if he wanted to enhance it, he could like shoot it off. Yeah, exactly.
Get the nanobots to do it for you.
Nano penis.
Yeah. Or maybe you just
nanobots. You're sitting in a chair in the corner of the hotel room with a camera, and your dick of nanobots just like extends across the room to please your wife.
It's like that nano, like the hovering mist of nanobots that sci-fi always shows. It's like tying her down. So like any good company with ties to the U.S. government, Boeing, Crynet also has a private military called the Crynet Enforcement and Local Logistics, or CEL. CEL is referred to constantly in Crysis 2 and 3. They're the human bad guys, basically. So every game, all three has human enemies and then alien enemies. It's a very nice kind of Halo-esque setup of the three-way fight. Great.
Bad guys are in CEL. Got it.
Yes, exactly. They are, exactly.
And incels are bad guys.
You can lock you can put on a screening of The Joker 2 with Lady Gaga, lock the door from the outside, and light it on fire.
I mean, I don't think the strict definition of an incel is a bad guy. If you're a bad incel, you're a bad guy.
Listen, if you aren't having sex, you're a bad person. I'm just saying right now.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's like someone out there who's trying their best, and they just haven't got laid yet. It'll happen for you. Just don't be a weirdo.
If you have self-labeled as an incel, if like you feel called out when I say incels are bad guys, you're a bad guy. That's my stance.
Oh, maybe you're right. Actually, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Otherwise, you're just a normal person who hasn't gotten laid in a while.
I'm not judging anybody for being kind of lonely. It's okay. It happens. But maybe don't go on Reddit anymore.
Yeah. Well, get off the internet altogether.
Oh, God, completely.
Replace your body with a mech suit, and the women will come. Yeah.
Or take over the body of a man who gets laid, and then scare the shit out of his mom.
Yeah.
Which is what I've learned from this game. So Hargreave had intended to use a nanosuit 2.0 to defeat the Ceph himself. Obviously, he had already carried his boys around Russia the whole time. However, due to various medical issues like my crippled ass, ended up living in a life support tank until his death in August 2023 at the age of 127. So you do encounter Hargreave in his tube in Crysis 2. Now, another funny thing about this,
Mr. House energy.
I was just about to say, New Vegas also came out right before this game and had an old rich guy in an aquarium. Yeah. And I don't know how many ideas the Crysis guys have been stealing from other media around that time, but you got Halo, Transformers, and New Vegas. The Michelin Man we've established are also stealing. Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, he does die in Crysis 2 at the age of 127 years old. He was born in the 1890s, I believe.
He had a good stretch.
He had a really good run. Got exposed to alien goo at some point, and then really made it his life work to master the alien goo. Carl Rash, in canon, was apparently morally against the use of life-extending technology. However, without explanation, he features heavily in Crysis 3 as a supporting character, which is set in 2047. And he's just a normal-looking old guy. This is the most
realistic thing that we've said so far, where there's a rich guy who says, no, we shouldn't do this thing which would allow people to extend their lives, but I'm going to do it. No, it shouldn't be legal, but I'm going to do it, is a very rich guy thing to say. That's
Loreboy's canon. He's fucking with you. He does die in Crysis 3, but he is a regular-looking old dude. Like, he's not in the aquarium at all. Let's just say he didn't lie about his age and went on the Tunguska expedition at the age of 18. Let's say he was a legal adult at the time. He would have been 146 years old when he died in Crysis 3. And he's completely normal looking. But also, Ethan, I'm going to say you're right, because you know who didn't bother explaining this? The guys who made
writers of Crysis 3.
Exactly. So, Hargreaves' theory, his century of researching these aliens, Hargreaves' theory about the Ceph, after studying their technology, led him to believe that they function as what he calls gardeners on the planets they invade, treating advanced life like humans, like weeds that they need to pull, which is why they showed up with a virus, and why they didn't, take over the Earth when it was just dinosaurs, is because dinosaurs aren't a threat to alien squids with guns, right?
Okay.
I would assume dinosaurs might have guns in the Bible. I haven't read it. 10,000 years ago, right?
It's like the gophers that chew up my garden, that eat all the ferns that I've planted in the front yard.
Yes.
Really? Mm-hmm. You have gophers that doing that? That sucked.
Big fellas.
Dude, it's kind of like how they send the Sands out in Dragon Ball Z. They're like, go clean this planet of life or everything so we can sell it to the highest bidder. But for them, they just want to keep it for themselves, I guess, the cephalopods.
Yeah, it's also the same as the Viltrumites in Invincible. I think you guys have been watching that. It's the same concept of the conquering force goes as a scouting party. This is at least his theory. What they want, I don't believe is ever actually confirmed. I don't have too many spoilers for Crysis 3 in it, so it may be in the game and I've just forgotten. I do think you should play these games. They're dopey, but they're a good time. So after Crysis 2, in 2024, Psycho and Prophet attempt to return to Tunguska to kill the Alpha Ceph. So the thing that caused the explosion was the ship with some kind of the Alpha of the hive mind. This is a plot thing that I just have to complain about. I fucking hate it when there is a last boss in fiction that you kill and it turns off all the bad guys. I understand it's easy, because there's always you can kill the man but not the idea, so what's to stop the Ceph politically from continuing to try and conquer Earth? But they do have a big last boss off switch, which I get it, game's gotta end eventually, right? Fine.
Yeah,
but
you could even just let the cleanup, you could just say that was the last big threat. I guess we were winning the fight at the end, but we had to kill this thing because he has the WMD, he is the WMD or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's better writing, but there's alternatives for sure.
You know what is actually kind of funny, because I didn't make this link when I was writing this, but now that we've talked about the third Transformers movie, in the fourth Transformers movie, because the Transformers don't have a hive mind, the CIA has just turned against the Transformers and is actually the U.S. government is hunting Optimus now that the Decepticons are gone. So that's how you write around the hive mind turning off, is just use regular U.S. foreign policy to just be well, Saddam Hussein's no longer useful. Time to get rid of him, sort of thing. But so the Alpha...
Yeah, I talked about WMDs, talked about Michael Bay movies.
9/11.
What if we did Michael Bay did 9/11 movie? And you can see the explosion, and there would be multiple camera angles and stuff.
Camera never stops moving is one.
Yeah, and Michael Bay was hijacking the plane, or did he do 9/11 another way?
Oh, he would direct the movie on 9/11. So
he directs the movie on 9/11 where Michael Bay did 9/11. That's what we're talking about here, right?
He's like a self-insert into his own. Oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, right. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. Like, I don't know what we have to do to get Mr. Bay on board for this, to get him on board for the movie that we're going to make, where Michael Bay did 9/11, right? But we have to admit that he is the best man for the job. Yeah. Like he is the director we need to direct this film, because it's going to be high octane, explosion laden fun. I think
with how the effects in Bay films hold up, his version of 9/11 would look better than the actual footage we have of it happening.
100%. Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's the thing about found footage. Usually sucks. It's like poorly edited. Damn. Like the angles are all fucked up. Like, I don't know, dude. I would say let's just get Mr. Bay to do it.
Yeah. But who's going to play the Peanut Man?
Well, I think what we got to do...
Shia LaBeouf, obviously. He would just be screaming inside the Peanut costume.
I was going to say Megan Fox, but Shia is a good pull as well, for sure.
We probably don't want to cover up
Megan Fox with that Peanut costume. Because...
Spend all the money on Megan Fox and stick her in a Peanut costume.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The Peanut costume is undoubtedly sexier than Megan Fox.
You could have a cunty Mr. Peanut with the big nails and shit, right?
Dude, it's just Mr. Peanut bent over working on a car.
Okay, well, we found new art, Pete. Scrap the Michelin Man. You got to do a sexy Mr. Peanut working on a car.
I mean, I got a sexy Mr. Peanut working on the nano suit. I got to keep it a little bit on brand.
Yeah, call your production friends, Pete. You just said you knew all these production people. Call them. Let's get Mr. Bay on the phone.
If I could find a single one of them that wasn't fired last year, then we'll get them going. Yeah. I did work with a couple people.
Tell him we'll do 9/11 lore, and he can be on as a guest.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
If he does the movie.
Mr. Bay, we want to do a 9/11 movie where the main character is Mr. Peanut. And he just hangs up immediately, and then 11 hours later finds my apartment. He's knocking on my door. No confirmation whatsoever.
Dude, he's like they often film those movies in Montreal too, right? Like the Transformers movies. Imagine they filmed the 9/11 movie in Montreal. They just crash it into like, I don't know, like the Sun Life building or something.
Well, you can do the triangle building across the street, right?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like Place Bonaventure. Anyway, so after Crysis 2 in 2024, Prophet and Psycho attempt to return to Tunguska to kill the Alpha Sept, just to get us back on track here. The Hive Mind. Cell, however, who knew where it was because they were part of Crynet, had set up a trap, knowing that Prophet would attempt to stop the Alpha Sept. They had already set up a dome around New York as a quarantining measure for the virus and for the Sept that were still alive there. But they realized somehow, I don't know, that they can use the Alpha Sept to generate electricity. So now Cell has an energy concern, basically an oil monopoly, where they are pulling energy directly out of the Alpha Sept and the litho ship that is present there.
Yeah, and now the war will drag on for another 20 years because they're like, well, we can't kill them until we figure out how to keep them alive permanently and get power, so a few people can get rich.
Well, this is 2024, and Crysis 3 takes place in 2027, so they're 2047, excuse me. So they actually, I think, wasted less time trying to pull electricity out of a giant alien body than the U.S. did introducing democracy to Afghanistan. It's actually less wasteful to build, I guess, a hydroelectric dam around a big octopus.
Fair.
And also killed less civilians, because I don't actually care about squid civilians, not gonna lie.
Squids aren't people.
Nope. I mean, they're smart, allegedly. I've seen them open jars, but I've seen a lot of things open jars, okay?
Like what? Horses?
Like a parrot. I seen Jamie do it with a light.
Yeah. Oh, Jamie could not. Shut up. That guy, you couldn't open a jar. You couldn't open a jar. Shut up, dude.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't tried, but we'll see.
I'm gonna plug you into the power grid if you can't open a jar on camera right now.
I definitely couldn't open it from the inside once you put me in there like a squid or octopus could.
I think you could. You could do the Kill Bill thing we talked about, where you just if you get your palm against the inside and pushed it up, the two little pieces of a mason jar, you could probably pop it.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Does it have the seal still? Am I
if you're
like
buried
factory
alive,
sealed in there?
Yeah, exactly. Am I like pickled clams, or
you're
am I something
on,
else?
You're running on like limited oxygen, right? So you only have a limited amount of time to get this bad boy open.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think at scale, that metal lid would be so fucking heavy, right?
Even
like,
thin,
I
yeah.
think,
I mean,
I think
corrugated metal is very thin, right?
I think if you shrunk down to the size to fit
Of a
into
pickle.
a standard mason jar, yeah. If you became Pickle Rick, if you became Pickle Jim, right? Haha,
Right.
so fun, lol, so funny.
My IQ is too low to understand this joke, but carry on.
If you became Pickle Pete, then I think you could probably do it. But I think if you scaled up, I think square cube law would make it too hard. I don't know if that's what square cube law is, but I'm gonna say it.
That's
not smart, right? It's something to do with size. I think it's animals, but whatever.
It is animals.
It is
I don't
animals.
really understand it.
It's basically when you get too big, your like bones would be, dude. I don't know.
I think it's because like the material the bones are made out of, like calcium and other things, have a limit to how much they can actually contain. So, anyway.
And there's something about like fueling yourself too, like the fuel,
the amount of calories you would need, right?
Yeah.
I already got the directions on red and blue shift right. I am like already batting way above my average right now.
True.
So,
I haven't even opened a jar yet.
You can take the dub on this one, Ethan. I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're almost done here. Anyway, so Cell was already at the Alpha Ceph, stealing electricity from it, opening jars just willy-nilly all over the place. Mm-hmm. They set off some kind of anti-nanosuit EMP that they had created as a backup, basically, to stop, like, just in case Hargreave, the old crippled man, went crazy in his nanosuit trying to stop the Ceph. There was a failsafe to stop him from doing this. They disabled both the nanosuits. Psycho was still inside his. They actually took him to what they called a skinning facility and stripped him of his nanosuit. Remember that it had probably grown mostly into his body at this point.
It is your skin, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, so.
And they placed Prophet in a stasis pod from 2024 until 2047. The first mission is actually rescuing Prophet from the cell facility that he is being stored in. Psycho has severe PTSD from the skinning procedure, and he's the only... What do you mean, why? Oh, right, of course.
Why is he being such a snowflake, dude?
I mean, like, dude, opening jars just, like, it gives people trauma sometimes, man.
Grow up, be a man. Don't tell your son you love him.
That first pop.
to be in the pickle jar after being de-skinned, oh boy.
Oh, that vinegar. Ooh,
yeah.
Ouchie. Ooh. Please give me nanobots to repair my skin for the vinegar.
Like, you ever soften chicken bones in vinegar as like a science experiment in elementary school?
No.
I did.
Okay.
I think that's
we called it a square. It was a square cube experiment, I think is what we called it.
Yeah, we'd collect roadkill and then we would like put it into different acids just to see what would happen. And,
yeah.
All that stuff we did in school.
Yeah. We did have
formaldehyde jars full of roadkill behind me.
We did have a guy come in one day and we all got to go to the gym and he gave us a presentation on electrical safety and he stuck 2 wires into a pickle and made it glow.
Oh yeah, don't be a silly Dill, 120 volts can kill.
Wow, I see.
That's what he used to say.
I don't remember that.
Now I understand why Jamie's never been electrocuted.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. We've all been saying since the beginning. It's amazing that Jamie's never stuck a fork in an outlet, but that one guy really did.
Now
change
I get it. Yeah.
Don't be a silly Dill. Yeah. Do you remember, Ethan? I had a memory of this the other day. We had a guy who came to our school and he said he was the world record holder for talking the fastest. And he sang a song,
yes.
and it was 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies, and he just went 1 week, and he just like did that in the mic.
It's like those guys, like when you were a kid and you would like take a book and you would just flip through it, be like, I'm done reading it. I read it. I read the whole book.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm done singing. That's it. That was the whole song. Can you believe it? Slow it down 42,000 times, and it sounds like the sun screaming.
Dude, this like must have been a slow day at whoever plans events for
at Guinness.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's like bring the kids out of school. We gotta see this guy talk real fast. Everybody, stop your learning.
He talked so fast that he would destroy his vocal cords every time he spoke, and he had little nanobots that would repair them every time.
They just grown into his throat.
Blow them out.
So at the beginning of Crysis 3, this is the conclusion here. So at the beginning of Crysis 3, a suitless Psycho rescues Prophet, setting him off on his mission to kill the Alpha Ceph, which has now come to New York within the dome. And I really liked Crysis 3. It's very classic overgrown city architecture, like trees and grass covering everything, but it's changed the behavior of the Ceph that are in there as well, because of course the Ceph themselves have been trapped within the dome also for 27 years. And like have kind of gone feral. There's a really cool long grass sequence at the beginning, which very much feels like the second Jurassic Park movie, where you're basically just you're hunting like the Predator because you can turn invisible, but also being hunted by new, more feral Ceph at the same time, which I thought was really cool. So yeah. That's Crysis, guys. I have been your sick host, Peter O'Donnell. You can find me at Loreboys Podcast on Instagram. About half my comic is officially full color at this point, which is a crazy thing to say. All this time I've spent not being able to physically speak, I've spent drawing and filling in stuff, so it's been really cool. I have a folder just called Full Color, which I think has about 21 or 22 pages in there out of 50. So I'm getting up to like 50% straight up fucking done coloring, which is pretty wild. So keep it peeled for that. And also thank you to everybody who's been supporting us. I'm also very close to getting a new PC, funded entirely by the people who love and support the show. So thank you to everybody for everything up until this point.
If you want to hang out with me, go to twitch.tv/loreboyjames. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Maybe more. I'm trying, basically, if I have a free night, I try and throw it on at least a little bit. So check me out there, playing some Dark Souls, playing maybe some others, maybe some Crysis one day. Who knows? And also, if you want to get a part of the community, discord.gg/loreboys. And thank you so much for the recent boosters who helped us get back to keep our server name, all of our extra benefits and stuff. So thanks for those.
Level
boosters.
3 improves the audio as well, so you are quite literally doing God's work.
Yeah, you're benefiting. Direct benefit. Thanks so much, everybody. Check out Jamie's Twitch page, twitch.tv/loreboyjame.
You said it right.
That's over it.
James.
Right.
Oh, one James.
No, he didn't.
You told me there was no S. You said there's no S, dude. So I don't know what the fuck you want from me here. Possible to please. We do have a Patreon. Thanks so much to our supporters over at Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys. If you want to check it out, slide us a couple bucks. It means the world to us to make this all possible and doable. And we're looking into doing more and more all the time. So head on over, check it out, send us a message, get in touch, leave us a review, tell your friends, all the good stuff that I've told you before. And of course, if you don't trust Patreon, we do have, as always, Lore Boys Prime, a service that we've always offered. We are opening a Jurassic Park. It is going to feature mainly Peter, whom we're putting in a cage, and we're going to be giving... Yeah, he's rattling the bars of his cage right now. We're going to be injecting him with various illnesses to see if he can develop, while being sick, his own nanotechnology to recover from being sick.
We'll just like shoot him and replace him with tires until he's a real Michelin Man or something.
Cut off his arm, put a tire in its place.
Yeah. It's like Michelin Man of Theseus, basically. It's just like...
and I think that would constitute Lore Boys.
Lore Boys.
Out. I'm not in the channel. I don't know where the stop recording button is.